about this marriage, everything about this divorce, everything about Erika's early years is shady. And the beginning matters. I mean, one of her exes was very clear. He said to me, I was warned by another person in beauty pageant world that girl will do anything to get to the top, and her mother will do anything to help her get to the top.
Candace Owens just dropped a claim about Erika Kirk that is completely reshaping how people understand Charlie's relationship from the very beginning. And once you hear the full picture, it's hard to look at anything the same way again. According to Candace, this was never a simple love story that developed naturally over time. She's arguing that Erika may have been positioning herself around Charlie from the very start, and that the timeline Erika has been presenting to the public about her own age may not even be accurate. Because here's the thing. If Candace is right about the age discrepancy, then the timeline of when Erika first got close to Charlie suddenly takes on a much darker meaning than anyone previously considered. People are now going back and rewatching old clips of Erika describing how they first connected. But the detail that has people most unsettled isn't just the age question on its own.
Going through her exes, you can see like she was going to be with somebody. She was, okay, you're going to the NFL, you're going to the MLB, we can be on The Amazing Race together. You will see very clearly she is not dating a regular guy ever, okay? Her goal was to make it.
It's how Erika allegedly used whatever age gap existed to her advantage, and the slow, deliberate way Candace says she embedded herself deeper and deeper into Charlie's life over time. Once you hear the specific moment Candace highlighted, the entire story stops sounding like a romance and starts sounding like a long game that was being played from day one. That's exactly why Candace's investigative series, Bride of Charlie, has become essential viewing for anyone following this story. Because without episode 4 of that series, nobody would know that there is an entire 10-year stretch of Erika Kirk's childhood where her birthday is filed inconsistently across multiple court and child support documents. During that period, remember, Erika's birthday appears as November 22nd in 1988, but as far as public records currently confirm, her birthday is November 20th. Candace was very pointed in highlighting how strange it is that these kinds of errors showed up specifically in court documents, including child support filings, where accuracy isn't optional. When you file in court, especially in matters involving a child's identity, the details have to be correct. Full stop.
I love submitting to Charlie because he's a phenomenal leader, and the way that he loves me, melts me to want to be able to help. How can I help you?
It was always a lie. She worked for TPUSA, she co-hosted sometimes with Charlie, and she even made content of her own. Once he died, she immediately took his role as the head of TPUSA.
And before anyone could dismiss it as simple clerical error, Candace shared actual copies of those court documents. And that's when the conversation shifted entirely. Even supporters who had been waving off earlier inconsistencies as honest mistakes were suddenly looking at something much harder to explain. And some of those documents had dates that were hand-edited, new dates written directly over the old ones. Some were missing notary stamps despite being official court filings. Others were missing judges' signatures entirely. These weren't the kind of sloppy paperwork errors that happen in a busy office. These were documents that appeared to have been deliberately altered. So for a full decade of Erika Kirk's childhood, there is simply no clean, verifiable record of her actual age. On the surface, that might seem like a minor detail, but Candace argues this is precisely where the larger story begins to crack open. Because, according to her, it fits perfectly alongside everything else that feels off about Erika. And chief among those things is Erika's conveniently timed relationship with Charlie Kirk.
This idea that she didn't want it is just not true. It's so objectively not true. Erika, without question, and anybody who's being objective and honest and looking at her history of the people that she dated and the people that she wanted to be in close proximity to, can guarantee to you that this girl wanted to be famous, very badly wanted to be famous one way or the other.
Now, most people are familiar with the version Erika has presented publicly. Two people who crossed paths, connected genuinely, and built a life together over time. A straightforward love story. But Candace is laying out a very different argument, that when you actually line up the dates, cross-reference the interviews, and examine how Erika has described her past in different settings, the story stops adding up. Because unlike the warm, organic connection Erika has described, the evidence Candace is presenting points towards something far more calculated and deliberate from the very beginning. Erika didn't stumble into Charlie's world by accident. According to Candace, she identified him as her next move and positioned herself accordingly. And when you look at Erika's dating history leading up to Charlie, the pattern becomes impossible to ignore.
This is an insult to Charlie because it implies he had nothing, it did not have their affairs in order at all. Like he just had kids and was just like, oh, well, if anything happens to me, I hope my wife is able to assume my role. No, Charlie always had his financial house in order.
Before Charlie, Erika's world was pro athletes, entertainers, and people with political influence. She described pro baseball player Tyler J.T. Massey as my favorite human, my best friend, and my incredible boyfriend. The energy around that relationship, the photos, the dynamic, led many people to believe he might have been the one she genuinely wanted. Before that, she was moving through the same Hollywood circles she had access to as a reality TV personality. And here's where it gets even more interesting. Some photos that circulated online suggested Erika had also dated Cabot Phillips, who would later become a prominent figure inside Charlie's own organization, TPUSA. That detail alone raised serious questions among people following Candace's investigation. But according to Candace, none of those connections happened by chance. She claims Erika sought those relationships out intentionally, each one chosen because of what it could open up for her career and public profile.
Like she's trying to relate, like she's just like a single mom and working a 9-to-5, working at a restaurant, trying to make ends meet for her children and the father.
And Candace goes further, revealing that Erika's mother, Lori, had reportedly been coaching her in this approach for years, teaching her how to move in elite spaces, how to position herself in rooms where powerful people gathered, how to identify exactly who was worth attaching herself to in order to climb toward the fame and influence she was chasing. That context is what makes Candace so convinced that when Erika first encountered Charlie Kirk, she immediately recognized him as the next strategic step. It didn't matter that Charlie was far removed from the type of men she had historically been drawn to. And it didn't matter that she was reportedly older than him. In Candace's view, those things were simply irrelevant to the calculation being made. And speaking of age, what is publicly known is that Erika recently turned 37 while Charlie was 31 at the time of his passing, placing their age gap at around 5 years. But based on the documentation Candace has been surfacing throughout her series, many observers now believe that gap could be significantly larger than what's been presented.
You are marrying a man that is not capable of completely and totally handling the finances, that you should not marry that man. Finances will break a marriage quicker than anything else, period.
But what if he checks all of the boxes, he just is horrible at money,
Fine.
and you're really good at
matter.
money?
Doesn't matter.
The altered court records, the inconsistent birthday filings, the missing official signatures, all of it points toward a deliberate effort to control how Erika's age and background appeared on paper. Candace's broader argument is this: the speed and confidence with which Erika moved to take over everything Charlie had built the moment he was gone is not the behavior of someone caught off guard by sudden loss. It looks far more like someone who had been preparing for exactly that moment. And according to Candace, that level of preparation required years of carefully cultivated trust, getting Charlie to a place where he not only loved her deeply, but believed she was the one person he could trust completely with everything he had built. That trust, Candace argues, became one of the most significant factors in how Charlie's story ultimately ended.
Charlie had to deal with the kids. Wasn't Erika home? Couldn't Erika have gotten him back down if you had an appointment to make? Perhaps, maybe she was like, no, it's your turn, you deal with it. You said the next morning when he snuck in, he grabbed his wedding band. Again, minor detail, but I asked myself, why was his wedding band off? She suddenly apparently had a clear enough mind to decide that she wanted to take the board to a vote to make her the CEO.
In episode 7 of Bride of Charlie, Candace turned her attention to another layer of the story: Erika's public presentation of herself as a woman grinding hard to provide for her family, the drawing comparisons to how her own mother had to struggle as a single parent. Candace says that narrative is almost entirely manufactured, because the financial reality Erika inherited following Charlie's passing tells a completely different story. According to Candace, Erika received at least $10 million directly from Charlie's estate in the immediate aftermath of his death. And that figure doesn't include whatever life insurance policies were in place, the flood of over $10 million in donations that poured in from Charlie's network of friends and supporters, or the enormously valuable TPUSA platform that Erika moved to take control of within days of his passing. The image of a woman fighting to keep her family afloat financially is not supported by any of those numbers, and Candace makes that point with receipts. But building that level of blind trust with Charlie didn't happen overnight. According to Candace, it required a long and layered process of deception.
And he sends off text messages to his security chief, Dan Flood, also to Andrew Colvett, and he says to them that they are going to kill me. Who is they? Well, Erika wants us to believe that he was referring to the left, or maybe even an Etsy witch, right? Some Etsy witch who put a curse on him. Because don't forget, we were also told that the definitely not at all Catholic Charlie had a priest come over and pray over him as well after he has this debating pointers handed to him and texting people saying he's going to die. He also was not at all Catholic and needed a priest to pray over him. And by the way, don't forget, he also apparently had no fears the next day, Erika says. She has his phone, but we got a priest praying over him. We have a declaration that he's abandoning the pro-Israel cause and that he feels that he is being bullied and he's done with it, and that Jewish people play into all the stereotypes. But we are also told that he had no fears the next day. Actually, he went to bed and he was just excited.
It started with how Erika framed her childhood, presenting a version of her upbringing that suggested hardship and struggle, even though evidence Candace has gathered points toward a very different reality. It extended to how she described her romantic history, carefully shaping a narrative that made her appear perfectly compatible with Charlie's vision of a devoted, faith-centered partner. Every piece of the story she presented to him was reportedly shaped to fit the image he was looking for. Candace believes there are things Charlie genuinely never knew about Erika, details that, had they been on the table before things got serious, it would have changed the entire trajectory of that relationship, things that would have stopped it before it ever truly started. And then came the moment the mask reportedly slipped in plain sight. During an appearance on Charlie's own podcast, the two got into a disagreement about something as foundational as who should manage finances in a household. Charlie laid out his position clearly, consistent with his well-known traditional values, that financial leadership in the home belonged with the husband. Erika pushed back. She kept arguing that sometimes the woman is simply better suited for the role. It was a small moment, but it was a revealing one, because it contradicted the image she had carefully constructed publicly, where she claimed to fully embrace the idea that a woman's place was in the home, away from career ambitions. Candace's read on moments like that is sharp. She believes those small arguments weren't just differences of opinion. They were tools Erika used to gradually chip away at Charlie's confidence and sense of authority, making him more emotionally dependent on her over time, more vulnerable, more trusting. And according to Candace, it worked, until it didn't. Because Charlie eventually started to notice things that didn't sit right. He grew suspicious, and Candace later revealed that in the weeks before his death, Charlie had reportedly ordered a full internal financial audit of TPUSA, wanting to look closely at where the money was going and who was really running what. He never got the chance to see what that audit would have uncovered. And the moment Erika took control of his office and his organization. But that investigation was buried, which Candace argues was never a coincidence. It was the endgame the whole operation had been building toward. So the timeline that once looked like a love story now looks like something far more deliberate and far more troubling. The more clips surface, the more documents get examined, the more people dig. The harder it becomes for even Erika's strongest supporters to keep calling all of this coincidence. Because if Candace is right about even a fraction of what she's laying out, then Charlie Kirk didn't just end up with the wrong partner. He spent years placing his deepest trust in someone who had been strategically moving the pieces around him from the very beginning. And the moment he finally started asking the right questions, he ran out of time to get any answers.